This video is meant to update partners and unit holders about the most recent business operations at the TD Banking Group, one of the top holdings in our segregated fund contracted portfolios. Hi, I'm Gordon Weeb. I'm licensed as an underwriter in the provinces of BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. My practice focuses on helping clients meet their financial goals and objectives, typically through the use of annuities, including segregated funds. This presentation represents some due diligence on one of the underlying assets in the recommended portfolios. Just before we begin, regulations require the following disclosure. This presentation is published on or about September 9th, 2020, and it is for information purposes only. This is not an offer to purchase securities or products, and no representation is made. Items presented may not be suitable for everyone, rates change, and values fluctuate, sometimes wildly. Please consult an experienced qualified licensed professional prior to investing to ensure that your investments are a part of a comprehensive plan designed to help you and your family meet your long-term financial goals and objectives. Also, when recommending products and planning strategies, broad tax and legal issues may be discussed. Nothing should be construed as tax or legal advice. Okay, now that we've squared that circle, let's move on. Here's our agenda. Number 1, we'll provide some background on the TD Banking Group. Number 2, we'll look at some of the people in charge. Number 3, we'll review the latest quarterly operating results released on Thursday, August 27th. And number 4, we'll look at the impact of the COVID virus upon the economy and the future of TD Banking Group's business. On July 31st, 2020, TD was valued at over $108 billion Canadian. They're Canada's premier retail banker, and they also have operations in the United States. They have 14.3 million digital customers and 26 million customers worldwide. On July 31st, they had $1.7 billion of assets under management, including $1.1 trillion of customers' deposits and $720 billion of outstanding loans. Here's a bit of background on the people in charge. Bharat Masrani is the president and CEO of the bank. Brian Levitt is the chair of the board of directors. Mr. Masrani began his career with TD Bank in 1987. Since then, he has aspired to and served in many senior executive roles within the bank. Mr. Levitt was the former president and CEO of Amasco, a leading Canadian consumer conglomerate which owned Shoppers Drug Mart, Hardee's, Imperial Tobacco, and Canada Trust, which merged with TD Bank in the year 2000. TD Bank Group operates 3 broad, profitable business segments. They include, number 1, traditional Canadian retail banking, including personal and commercial units. Number 2, U.S. retail banking under the TD Bank America's Most Convenient Bank logo. And number 3, North American wholesale banking, which includes banking, investment research, and access to global capital markets. During the third quarter, the majority of TD Bank's profits were still derived from Canadian banking, which accounted for just over half, or about 55% of all earnings. That segment includes all retail banking services provided by branches and online. U.S. retail banking operations accounted for 29% of all earnings, and wholesale banking accounted for 19% of TD's overall quarterly performance. This pie chart simply provides a graphic illustration from where third quarter earnings were derived. Here's a consolidated summary of how the bank has been performing during the past few quarters. Revenue over the last 5 reporting periods was consistently over $10 billion. During the most recent quarter, net income grew to $2.3 billion, still $700 million shy of comparable quarters. Margins were up, however, to about 21%, and earnings per share were $1.25 for the quarter, up 47% from the previous quarter. Over the last 5 years, TD Bank Group has managed to grow their reported earnings by 9% per year. While growing earnings at 9% might be a challenge in 2020, I suspect the long-term growth targets will be attainable. And if we take a look at the long term, TD Bank has consistently rewarded shareholders and unit holders with a growing dividend stream. Since the year 2000, dividends have grown at a rate of about 10% per year, meaning dividends have doubled about every 7 years. It's why TD Bank has been a top holding in the fund contracts I've recommended to clients when striving for their long-term financial goals and objectives. Let's talk a bit about risk management. Like most businesses everywhere, TD's management is taking a cautious approach. The recovery from the pandemic will take some time, and interest rates are likely to stay low for the duration. However, having weathered the initial shock, TD will likely be well positioned for the recovery when it begins to take hold. And as a way of further managing risk on behalf of clients, when held in a contract, unit holders benefit from A, maturity and death benefit capital guarantees, B, the right to transfer ownership without triggering a tax event, C, the right to name beneficiaries and bypass probate, and D, a degree of creditor protection not available with other investments or afforded other asset classes. In conclusion, TD Bank Group remains a dominant player in the Canadian and North American financial services and asset management markets. Their diversified banking platforms allow them to weather the battered economy, and while earnings and results have suffered over the past 2 quarters, there's little reason to believe that they won't continue to be profitable, at least until the virus passes and things return to normal. And that's it. If you have questions or would like more information about this presentation, please contact me, Gordon Wiebe, at gord@think-income.com or visit my website at www.think-income.com. And if you've enjoyed this presentation and found it informative, please give it a thumbs up just below the screen and consider viewing other presentations on the Think-Income YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and please remember, stay safe, stay sage, and stay well.